Eamon O'Carroll, you've had a chance now to reflect and review that York performance. You conceded those 2 tries of errors. You then took control of the game, only then to be hanging on at the end. As your viewpoint changed since Sunday?
No, it's not. We understand why the game went like that. I can't knock the players' efforts. When you look at the big picture, the effort and the commitment, the amount of attention to detail, the mental capacity that's been probably taken up from the group over the last few weeks, how we approached probably the month. I can understand why we probably look a little bit of a fatigued team at the moment. So yeah, in terms of performance, we know we want to be better and we need to be much better. I mentioned it afterwards and I mentioned it to the group. Defensively, we were way off our standard. But as the coach, I can understand, and that's not an excuse. But we have to move on now. We've done some things to try and re-energise the group. We've also spoke about, this week we need to get some work done and fill our tanks back up. So look, I'm just really happy that the way the game went, we managed to win ugly, and I don't think we've been able to do that this year. So and for obvious reasons, really happy that we got the result. It was important that we got it over the line for Sammy.
You mentioned the defence, 5 tries conceded. That clearly falls below the high standards that had been set in the previous 2 games against Toulouse and Wakefield. Has there been much of a sort of refresh on that defensive attitude?
Yeah, we've looked at it. We won't be freshening the lads up in terms of our defence. We'll be getting some work done tonight, and they understand that. That hurts to concede tries in the manner in which we did. So we know we need to be better there, and I've got the utmost confidence in the group that they'll turn up tonight with the right attitude and want to fix things.
There's been much focus on that sort of 15-minute period where it looked like Bradford were going to collapse and York were going to have a famous comeback.
Yeah, but probably more of a positive to say, well done, you managed to come through the other side of it. We did some things that hurt us, and those are the lessons that we'll have to learn. The group's smart, they understand that. But we kind of addressed it and put it to bed pretty quickly, looking to move on to Widnes. I think on the whole, I think that 15-minute period gets highlighted, but there's things throughout the game, even when we were ahead, that we know we needed to do better.
You mentioned it just now, and it got spoke about after the game on Sunday, but Sam Haller's putting his hand up to play. Obviously, when I've spoken to players after the game, Mitch Suter, John Davis, they're in awe and admiration of the bravery that's been shown by Sam to put his hand up to play. What sort of an effect can that have on your playing group when other players are seeing that bravery?
Yeah, it's huge. I mentioned this a lot. The group's really tight. They're a really well connected group. So when you see one of your mates, hurting, that can drive you. And I could just sense that the group were desperate to get it done for Sammy and for ourselves as well. But for Sammy to put his hand up to play under them circumstances, I can't really articulate what that means to me as the coach for him to do that. I had so much respect for him anyway. I don't think I could have any more, but for him to do that for his family and for his father and go out and play the way he did as well, just shows you the stature of the man that he is. And I'm glad he's through our door.
Kieran Gill got a couple of tries on Sundays, up to 18 tries for this season. When you look at his stats on his 3 years here, it's 2 tries every 3 games. How much of a positive, how much of a benefit is that for the side?
Yeah, it is. It's huge. It's huge. We know the quality of Gilly. I think he's playing some of his best rugby at the minute. He looks really happy. I think everyone knows he loves it here. The exciting thing for me is I still think there's so much more to come from Gilly. I think he's really improved defensively. But I think once the people around him and once we get some clarity of who's playing where and we can get some rhythm in our team, I think you're even going to see a better version of Gilly as well. So I'm really happy for Gilly. He'll be made up that he's chalking off some tries. I did see the stat the other day, and I think that's really it's great what he's doing for us. But the people around him as well. That's one thing about Gilly. He's got recognition for the people around him that are putting some on a plate for him, and he's having to work extremely hard for some as well. So we're very lucky to have Gilly here.
When you look at the last couple of games, rhythm has been a key focal point, because it's fair to say there hasn't been much rhythm, not just with the Bradford side, but the game in general. Is that something you have to tell the players? Look, don't get frustrated, don't get head up beat, but sometimes you get these games that are like that.
Yeah, that's something we've addressed a lot, and one thing that's not come out of that game publicly was a lot gets said about our discipline, and I thought we were outstanding in that respect at weekend. So that was one of the huge positives from the group. Not getting frustrated, understanding things will go against you, things deservedly will go against us, but sometimes unfairly, and that's just the nature of the game. But it's about what's next, what's our next action, and I thought that was one thing that the players in the group actually nailed at weekend, which was really pleasing. We have to take that forward now.
Moving forward, obviously this weekend, Ribidoro is suspended for 2 matches. The fact he's the 10th player that's been suspended this season, Eamon, and obviously George Tafu and Evan Skur on the suspension sidelines. But when you actually look at the stats and you dig deep, that adversity of dealing with players missing through suspension, you've actually won 7 and lost 3. So that kind of highlights you've dealt with that bit of adversity. Not that you want players out on the sideline suspended.
No, we don't. We don't. And some of the suspensions, we've deserved, and we know that. Some probably a little bit unfair, but we understand that's where the game's at the minute. We have a mentality here. It's next man up, and you have to do your job. If you're wearing that jersey, there's a job to do, and I think the group have done really well with that. It's probably gone to the extreme for us this year. We've used far too many players, but it's out of necessity, not because we wanted to. So the group have responded to that. But when we talk about rhythm, when your team's changing all the time, whether that's through suspension or injury, it's hard to get that rhythm. So again, it's something we've addressed. To be where we're at the minute with the amount of disruption, the group deserve a huge rap for that.
Harvey Makin was the 41st player the club have used this year. Is it fair to say, when moving forward into 25 and beyond, that is an area where the club are going to focus and get that figure right down?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we're not happy that we've had to do that, but we understand we've had to, and we're probably lucky that we've got some really good relationships with other clubs, and they allow us to use their players. And obviously we've dipped into the academy as well. Jacob Bateman's made his debut this year. Finn Ballback and Jamie Gill have been in the squad, and there'll be some more coming through as well. Certainly towards the back end of the year. So it's a frustrating one, but we understand where we're at, and it's something we want to be better at next year. But a lot of it is out of our hands, unfortunately. I just feel it's probably been at the extreme this year.
Jaden Ockenbaugh, still waiting for visa paperwork. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, as you said, we're still waiting for that. Unfortunately, it's out of our hands. The staff here, Tracy, are working extremely hard to try and get that one done. It's always a difficult one, but that's just ongoing.
Is that due to obviously him registering with Hull FC and then you obviously deregistering and then getting him back registered at the Bulls?
Yeah. When you terminate your contract at a club, if you've got a visa, you have to reapply for another one, and sometimes that can be a long old slog. So we've managed to get an agreement with Jaden till the end of the year. Now we've done that, we can start the visa process.
In terms of players coming back or any bits of positivity on the injury front, is there anything this week, Eamon?
No. So as we are.
We're kind of expecting a very sort of similar side to what featured against York at the weekend, obviously minus a Ribidoro.
Yeah. We're quite lucky in that respect. A few knocks and bumps, but nothing too severe out of the York game. So we'll be pretty much similar.
No combing of the loan market. Happy with what you've currently got?
No, potentially, yeah. There could be a couple coming in. We'll know a little bit more about that today. I think we're down to 16, potentially 17. So we obviously need to go and have a look.
Widnes away on Sunday. They've won the last 2 after a recent slump. What do you make of Widnes?
Yeah, very good team. Yeah, I think we know a lot about them because we've played them twice now, and they've got one over us twice. I like the style of rugby that they play. Very intelligent threat throughout the field. Their spine really well connected and playing well together. And I think they've got good depth there as well. If one's missing, they've got good quality to come in and play. And the forward pack, they've recruited some good players there, and they're playing well. I know they're doing it tough with some injuries as well, but I've been really impressed with them this year. But it doesn't come as a surprise. Obviously, I've got an affiliation with the club, and I know a lot of the players there, so I understand their threats and their qualities. We're going to have to be very good.
And one of their danger men goes without saying, Tom Gilmore, really skillful organiser.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. I know a lot about Gilly, and huge fan of his. Lucky enough to play with him and seen him come through as a young lad at Widnes. So it's no surprise to me when you've got Tom Gilmore in the team that they're doing well. So he's going to be a huge threat. But around him as well, there's not just him. Joey Lyons playing really well. Lloyd Roby, they've got Keenan Brand there. So yeah, Jack Owens as well. They've got some key personnel there.
The pitch is a 4G playing surface, Eamon. Is there any concerns, worries about that? Because I know in the past when Michael Lawrence has been fit, he's obviously not played on that pitch, but there's no issues with no other players on that playing surface.
Oh, I was smiling because I was saying not for me because I played on it for 7 years. So I like the field. I said that to the boys today. I said, get excited about it. It's a fast track. That's what we want. So I think a lot gets said about these artificial pitches. I don't see a big issue with them, but like I said, I played on one for a long time. I wasn't quick enough to pick up an injury on them, so yeah, no issue from us there. If Bruno was fit, he'd play in this. He's fine with it. These are professionals. They understand the quality of the fields are much better than what they were when they first, started coming into the game. They're well looked after, so yeah, there's no issue.
On the away form at Widnes, it's just 2 wins and a draw in the last 10 games, and very similar to Featherstone earlier on in the season in round 4. Are you going to make much of that with the playing squad, or is it just going to be, this is the 2024 Bradford Bulls, what's happened in the past has happened in the past, or would you like to go there on Sunday and address what has been historically some very poor away form?
Yeah, you can look into it, and maybe we'll mention it. It won't be a driver for us. There's a much bigger picture as to why we need to go and perform and win at weekend. Take the last 2 performances against them out of it. That for me is irrelevant. I think both teams are in a different spot now. I watched the last 2 games back this week, and you kind of forget who's in your team and who's not, and who's missing and who you've brought in as well. And that's the same for Widnes as well. So we have to be aware of some things. But no, I won't be using the fact that we've not won there. We didn't do that with Featherstone. We was aware of it, but it's about performance. That won't be a driver.
On the last 2 games, how much can you learn from those 2 defeats to Widnes earlier on in the season at Oldham?
Well, we've learned a lot. We've learned that we can go to a high level and stick at that and go with some teams who are full time and play a really good, exciting brand of rugby, and will challenge you for 80 minutes. So we didn't come out of that with the points, bar 1, which was great for us. But we came out of it with a lot of confidence, which is good. I feel like we're a good team when we're in them set for set games and they're not stop-start. I feel that's when we get our rhythm. I don't feel that Sunday's game went that way, and you could see that affected us as well. So it's a good lesson for us, knowing that we value certain areas of the game, and when we're in them types of games, we tend to go well.
And just finally, Eamon, we've touched on this a little bit, but the away support, 800-900 at Dewsbury, 600 in Toulouse. There's probably going to be 700-800 at Widnes on Sunday. They can play a massive part in the feel-good factor and energising the players on Sunday.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I've mentioned it a couple of times, especially at away games, because I'll either be sat in the stands, I'm not in my box, and you can hear them. It does make a massive difference. The boys love it. I think Swinton away as well was a huge one. So they're hugely important to us, and we love the fact that they follow us everywhere. We need them. There's no doubt about that, and they do give us more energy. So the boys mentioned that themselves. So we'll look forward to seeing them all there at Widnes on Sunday.